All right, welcome. Today we're going to dive into a certification that's, widely seen as the absolute gold standard for cybersecurity leadership, the Certified Information Systems Security Professional, or as you'll hear it called, the CISSP. We're going to break down its structure, figure out why it's so incredibly valuable, and really see how its core concepts, well, they form the backbone of security programs in huge global companies. So let's just jump right in.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll get a bird's-eye view of what the CISSP actually is. Then, we'll get into why big companies are clamoring for it. After that, we'll unpack the 8 knowledge domains, zero in on 3 super important security concepts, and then see how this all plays out in the real world. And finally, we'll wrap up by helping you decide, is the CISSP the right next step for you?
All right, first things first, let's get a really clear picture of what the CISSP is all about. And this is so important. You have to understand this is not just another technical exam. Not at all. Think of it more like a strategic framework, a blueprint for actually leading a security program. So this is really the heart of it. The CISSP is for people who manage, design, and oversee a company's entire information security program. So you got to think less about typing commands to configure a firewall and way more about creating the high-level policy that decides why we even need that firewall in the first place and exactly how it fits into the company's massive, big-picture risk strategy. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. Look, technical certs are absolutely crucial, right? They teach you the how-to. You get hands-on with tools. You learn the procedures. But the CISSP, it's on a whole different level. It's all about the why. Why are we doing this? It's about making sure security is perfectly aligned with what the business is trying to achieve. It's about the theory, the big ideas that drive every single security decision. Yeah, you're going to hear this phrase all the time when people talk about the CISSP. And what it means is you need to know a little bit about everything in security. I mean everything from physical locks on doors to the nitty-gritty of software development. No one expects you to be the world's top cryptographer, but you absolutely have to grasp the core concepts so you can walk into the CEO's office and confidently explain how it's protecting the company's crown jewels.
Okay, so that leads us right into our next big topic. Have you ever wondered why so many high-level security job postings say CISSP required? Well, the answer has less to do with technical skills than you might think. It really gets to the very heart of business and legal strategy.
So let's start with a really important question. One that gets right to the core of why this cert is so valuable. Just imagine this. Your company has a massive data breach. Next thing you know, you're in a courtroom. The question becomes, how do you prove you actually did everything you were supposed to do to stop it? Well, the answer really boils down to these 2 key legal ideas, due diligence and due care. Think of it this way. Due diligence is doing your homework, right? It's researching the risks and writing the security policies. Due care is actually doing the things you said you'd do in those policies. And a security program built around the CISSP framework, it's designed to help a company prove they did both, which is what makes their security program legally defensible.
And this is why the C-suite cares so much. Because if a company doesn't follow these principles, senior managers, we're talking VPs, CEOs, they can personally be held liable for negligence. We're talking huge fines, serious legal trouble. So when a company hires CISSP certified leaders, it's sending a clear message. We are serious about managing risk responsibly and cost-effectively.
Okay, so what's actually in this thing? What do you have to know? Well, the entire body of knowledge is broken down into 8 big areas, or domains. They're all distinct, but they're all connected, and together they paint a complete picture of information security.
Now check out how this is weighted. The biggest piece of the pie, at 16%, is security and risk management. See, that just hammers home the management focus we've been talking about. But it's not all high-level stuff. You've got chunky sections on the technical side too, like security architecture and engineering. That's all about secure design. Then there's communication and network security, identity and access management. The list goes on. The bottom line is, you can't just be good at 1 or 2 of these. You have to show you're competent across the board to prove you can see that whole holistic security picture.
So, those 8 domains cover a ton of ground, right? But cutting through all of it are a few fundamental ideas. I like to call them the North Stars of the CISSP. They're woven into everything. Let's break down 3 of the absolute most important ones.
Okay, first up, and this is the big one, the CIA triad: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Pretty much every single security control you can think of, from a complex password policy all the way down to a fire extinguisher on the wall, it's all designed to protect at least one of these 3 things. This is the fundamental why behind almost everything we do in security.
All right, next, let's talk risk. From a business point of view, this might be the single most important skill. Look, you can never get rid of all risk. It's just not possible. So you have to manage it smart. And this formula right here, it's a key tool for doing that. It helps us take a vague threat and turn it into something the business understands, dollars and cents.
So, let's break this down really simply. Let's say one of your key servers goes down. The cost to fix it, plus the lost business, is $50,000. That's your single loss expectancy, the SLE. Now you look at the data, and this kind of thing happens, say, once every 2 years. That means your annualized rate of occurrence, the ARO, is 0.5. You just multiply those two together, 50,000 times 0.5, and you get your annualized loss expectancy, your ALE, of $25,000. Now here's the magic. As a CISSP, you can walk into a manager's office and say, look, this one risk is costing us 25 grand a year, on average. And suddenly asking for $10,000 for a better backup system doesn't sound so crazy anymore, does it?
And our third North Star is all about design philosophy. The way we build networks today is guided by this idea, zero trust. You might have heard the old saying, trust but verify. Well, that's gone. Forget it. Zero trust starts with the assumption that you've already been breached. It assumes threats are everywhere, inside your network, outside your network. So what does that mean? It means every single request to access anything has to be checked, verified, and authorized. No exceptions, period.
Okay, so that's a lot of theory, I know. Let's make it real. How would a CISP actually use these ideas in the real world? We're going to walk through a scenario using a really important tool called a business impact analysis, or BIA. So, picture a big bank. The first thing a BIA does is pinpoint what's absolutely critical. For them, it's the online banking portal. That's priority number 1. Okay, next, you look for gaps. The business says the absolute longest that portal can be down, the maximum tolerable downtime, is 4 hours. But the IT team says their current plan takes 8 hours to get it back up. That's the recovery time objective. You see the problem? There's a 4-hour gap where the business is suffering irreparable harm. So the solution here isn't just, hey, let's buy a faster server. No, the strategic answer is to fund and build a complete continuity of operations plan. That's how a CISSP thinks.
So after hearing all this, you're probably asking yourself, okay, is this actually for me? Is the CISSP my next move? That's a great question. Let's break down what that path looks like.
Now, to become a full-fledged CSISP, there is a pretty serious experience requirement. You need 5 years of paid, full-time work experience. And that experience has to be in at least 2 of those 8 domains we talked about earlier. This is really important because it makes sure that anyone holding the cert doesn't just know the theory from a book, they've actually done the work in the real world.
But what if you're thinking, hey, I get this stuff, but I don't have 5 years of experience yet? Don't worry, there's a path for you too. You can still take and pass the exam to become what's called an associate of ISC². This is huge because it proves to employers you've got the knowledge, and then it gives you 6 whole years to get the hands-on experience you need to become a fully certified CSSP.
You see, in the end, the CSSP is so much more than just a piece of paper. It's a commitment to a certain standard of excellence. It's a blueprint for leadership. It really marks a shift in your thinking, away from just asking, how do I fix this one problem, to asking, how do we design a whole system where this problem can't even happen? So now that you understand the blueprint, the real question is, are you ready to start building?